Welcome everybody to NSWAY 73 TV. It is me, Uncle E. Thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. Before we get started, everybody that's tuned in or watching this afterwards, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, share this with everybody you know. Leave me a comment. I'd like to see your thoughts and opinions, whether it's good or bad. Either way, you took the time to leave a comment, so I appreciate it. Before I get started with my guests, I want to take a quick second. I want to send my condolences and prayers out to the Dominican Republic and all the families that have lost, lost a loved one, or those that were injured. They were at a club, I believe it was last night, this spot called Jet Set. The whole roof collapsed, man, and they're still digging out rubble and trying to find people that they haven't been able to find. We lost a lot of great people, musicians, Ruby Perez, ex-baseball player that played for the Mets, and a numerous amount of other people. And so I just want to send my condolences to everybody out there. The country's mourning right now. It's a pretty big loss. Para eso que no entienden lo que estoy diciendo, lo digo en español. Quiero mandar un abrazo a todo el mundo allá en Santo Domingo, la República Dominicana, que sufrieron una pérdida de su familiar o amigos que se hayan fallecido o que estén heridos. Espero que todo el mundo recupere de esto pronto y que sigan ahí con Dios. Joining me today, I have a producer, songwriter, MC. I'm sure we'll find out what other stuff he does. I like to call him a hip-hop citizen. Joining me today is Lex NYRE. Now, let me ask you, is it NYRE? Do I say, is there a meaning behind that? What's up with the NYRE part?
Yeah, man. So NYRE is actually a clique that I've been a part of for many years. It stands for the New York Rhyme Exchange.
Okay.
Really, the NYRE I had tagged on to the end of my name, particularly when I started putting my music on streaming sites. I was realizing that it's just kind of like a sea out there. Of artists, so I was getting tagged to just my name is Lex, just Lex, Lex, all caps.
Okay.
But in order to make sure that I streamline all of my music to one specific place, I tagged on the NYRE for the crew love.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm gonna do this a little bit different. Usually I like to start from early on and work our way up, but I'm going to do it a little different today. I would like to start off with the new project that you have out. And there's a reason why, besides it's new and we want everybody to know about it. There's one thing that really caught my attention about your project, and was the title of it.
Okay.
The Best Language.
Yes, sir.
When I saw you post that the project was out, I saw the title, caught my eye right away, and then I saw where you kind of got the idea for the title.
Yes.
Before I even listened to the album, when I saw where you got the idea from and everything, I was like, I bet you this album is dope before I even listened to it. So the reason why I want to start with that is because at the same time, I would like to pay our respects to DJ Clark Kent.
Yeah.
He's somebody that I've admired for a very long time. Outside of the music, as far as his DJing and production and everything, I just loved him as far as how he carried himself. I feel that he was a true representative of what we call hip hop, and not even just hip hop. It's just kind of that I just could say like that New York vibe that a lot of us come from.
Absolutely.
So
he was one of the originals, right? So rest in peace to DJ Clark Kent. Man.
Right. So if you can elaborate a little bit more on that, and then we'll get more into the album itself, and then after that we'll get a little bit more into a little bit about your history and coming up.
For sure. So so the Best Language. This is a project I had been working on for some time, and it was just I was in a good space creatively. I was making a lot of music, a lot of songs that I was happy with the direction of where they were going and how they were coming out. I started to get them mixed one by my man Ches Rocker. Shout out to Ches Rocker, Woodside Connect. And I just wanted to make sure that I kept that energy. And for a long time, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to call the project. I knew that I was working towards something. But ultimately, I had been, just watching a lot of interviews and just paying attention to the people that I admire as I normally do. And I had come across an interview. I believe it was like some type of Spotify interview that they were holding with Clark Kent,
Okay.
and they had asked him the question, "What does music mean to you?" And he began his answer to that question with music is the best language ever created. And when I heard that, and when I heard him go on to discuss, basically what music meant to him in his life, and he told the story about how it connected him to his grandmother. Just a beautiful interview.
Nice.
Like you said, Clark Kent was a special individual, man. He carried himself in a way where you could tell that he was very passionate about what he did, and that he had a pure, sincere love for it. And when I had heard that, I was like, the best language, yeah, the best language, definitely. Like it was just a perfect explanation as to what music meant to him, and it resonated with me. And I was like, you know what, I like that. I like that terminology. I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
seen anyone use that. As a title.
Hmm.
And I wanted to make sure that I went ahead and served. It was just a
It
theme
spoke
that
to you.
it stuck with
Hmm.
me while I continued to create. And eventually it just became the title of the project.
Gotcha. Very dope. Very dope. So, shout out to DJ Clark Kent, rest in peace, man. He's like I said, he was somebody that I followed for a very long time. Just everything. I liked everything that he did. I just, whether it was DJing, producing, everything he
Right,
did, he
right.
just
He
seemed to
he
do with
was an
such
avid sneaker collector too.
that's yeah. It's like everything that he was passionate about, he just did it. It was so effortlessly too. You
Right.
know what I mean? It was just so effort. And one of the things I loved about him, probably the most, besides like his DJ, I love the way he played music. Like in other words, if he played at a party, I just love the way he played music. Like forget I know he comes from the Superman and all that legacy and the whole,
Hmm.
the scratch and all that. But it was just his style of how he played music, man. He just knew how to rock a crowd. He knew what type of music to play, and he created such a dope vibe. So rest in peace of DJ Clark Kent.
Indeed.
Um, so back to your project. Before you started working on this, how long was it? Before this project came out and your last project.
Yeah, so I actually had put out a couple of projects last year. Um, Two projects last year to be exact. The first one I dropped with a producer named Buck, my man who's originally from Venice, California. He's been living in
Okay.
Brooklyn for the last 10 or so years at least. But yeah, Lex and Buck, we dropped a project called Real Estate. And
Okay.
that came out, I believe, I want to say in like late February last year. It was close to his birthday. So, and that project, was very well received. I got a lot of love doing performances for that joint.
Okay.
Buck's a very talented producer, so that was a long time in the making. I was real happy with the way that that one came out. And then the second project that I released, I believe it was in October, called John.
Okay.
This is a project that was part of a series of albums that I've done, where I handle the production myself.
Hmm.
On John, there was one track that was produced by my brother, Noids. Shout outs to Noids.
Okay.
And the reason that he had to join on the project along with me, it's a sequential album. So the first
Hmm.
project in that particular sequence is a joint called Alex that I dropped in 2016.
Okay.
And Alex is my first name.
Right.
John happens to be my middle name.
Okay.
I go on to tell the story about how I got the middle name. Was my brother, when my mother was pregnant, when she was carrying, he was maybe like 6 years old, and he wanted my parents to name the baby after him. He wanted me to be named Derek too. My parents was not gonna do that. That would have been a headache. So they made the compromise to give me his middle name. So it was only right that I had a joint from him on the project as well.
Nice. Nice.
And he mixed that for me and mastered it as well. So shout out to Enoids, and yeah, also very well
Okay.
received. Both of those projects are available on CD as well as vinyl.
Okay.
Um, not a whole lot of CDs left, particularly for real estate. I got maybe two. So
Okay.
if you hit the Bandcamp, you can snatch one of those up before you're gone.
Definitely. Definitely. Nice. So then, between those projects and the one that you just released, what were you doing in between that?
Man, just living life, man. The
Hmm.
usual grind.
Hmm.
Um, like I'm always creating. So like there's always a couple of things that are in the mix and even now I've got a couple of projects, that are to different degrees partially completed.
Okay.
So I'm always working on something. Um, this project, particularly the best language, I want to say I am happy with you know the process of it and how it came out and when it came out.
Hmm.
This is like kind of me where I'm at right now, so
Okay.
that's always a good feeling. Usually when I'm creating projects, there are a couple of songs that have been kind of sitting on the shelf for years.
Right. Right.
But with this one, everything is fresh and it just came together well. Again, I was in
Nice.
a good space creating, man, and I just kept going.
Okay. Now you produce as well, and I saw there's a few tracks on there that you produced yourself.
That's right.
What I'm always curious when I speak to someone that's an MC as well as a producer. What is your process like? Are you constantly producing like just to produce? Do you produce something and then want to write to it, or do you write something? What's how does your brain work when it comes to that?
I tend to kind of go through phases, man. I definitely, there have been periods where, like, you know what, I'm in production mode. That's what I'm messing with right now.
Okay.
Other periods where I'm in writing mode.
Hmm.
I'm not really producing much. So right now, I'd say, or just in general, I'm more of a writer. I'm a writer first.
Okay.
I've been an
Okay.
MC first. And I feel like my approach towards production has always been. I hear something and I know I want to do something to that. I know that I can do something to that.
Okay.
I could be anywhere. I could be in the supermarket and they playing something on the intercom and I'm just
Yeah.
like, you know what?
Yeah.
You Shazam this real quick. What is that? What
Yeah.
is that? So I try to come back to it and I produce like my production really stems from how would I want to approach this from a rhyming standpoint. I'm usually listening for drums first. And
Gosh.
yeah, I mean I mean it's always the creative process. It's not always the same for me. But for the most part, again, I do want to say that I approach production and beat making from the stance of an MC. Like I make the music that I try to find something that's melodic that I'll
Mhm.
be able to complement in turn and write something rhythmic to it.
Gotcha. On that same note, I want to ask you, you have I guess like a skit or an interlude, you call it
Hmm.
Eminence,
Yes.
where you're talking about different artists and their style of flowing. You
Yep.
mentioned Biggie, you talked about Pac, I believe, and oh man, there was somebody else you mentioned that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Who
So that was so that
I
skit is
forget right now,
actually
but
that's actually a skit of Shock G speaking. So rest in peace to the late great Shock G. Throughout
that's
the
Shock G's
project,
voice
that is
on there.
Shock G. That is Shock G.
Oh, okay, because I did hear
He
like a
starts
little
with the
piece.
Humpty Hump.
Right,
He
right, right,
starts with
right.
the Humpty Hump and
So he's
Nas. They're
breaking
different.
down.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. But why did you pick that to put on there in particular?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was again just in the zone of creating, I was watching a lot of interviews with some of the greats, and there was just things that would come across my feed, and they would just touch me.
Yeah.
Like it
Okay.
meant something to me when I saw it. I was like, man, I wanted to convey. So there are quotes sprinkled throughout the project. I wanted to convey the power of music and the approach a little bit from the perspective of some of the legends that unfortunately many of the quotes that I've used have been recent losses to the
Yeah,
hip
yeah,
hop
yeah.
community. So Shock G, there's also
Mm-hmm.
on Enough for Me. There's a quote from Kai
Mm.
from a Kai interview
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of discussing, you know, what his basically what his fan base means to him. The fact that anyone paying attention gives him purpose. So that just resonated with me heavily, and the same thing with the Shock G quote. It was particularly, he was discussing music from a standpoint where I don't think people tend to really think that way about melodies and vocal tones and
Yes, yes.
just how a MC kind of intermingles with the production and makes something magical. And I thought that was just powerful coming from, you know, an artist like Humpty Hump, you know, who made people get up and want to move, and you know what I mean. So yeah, it's just something that spoke to me, and I wanted to throw some production behind it and fit it into the feel and theme of the project.
I ask you about that because listening to your song music, you have that. Like you blend in, you know, you're like another part of the production as
Right,
far as your
right.
voice and the way you flow of everything. So I was like, when I got to that one and I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, this is cool because it's like, you know,
It made
it's like
sense.
you could tell that you come from that. You know what I mean? And it's really interesting because I feel like that's something kind of like what you said that we don't really get to appreciate that too much anymore. Some, you know what I mean? I'm not saying there's still some artists out there that have studied, I guess, or learned how to do that.
Right,
But it's not like it used to be, you know, and I hate to sound like that, but it is. You know what I mean?
right,
That's something that I used to pick up on, for example, just as a fan. Like I know producers tend to have a different ear than the average consumer. You know what I
right, for
mean? They hear
sure.
certain things, but for example, me, like that's what I felt made Guru so special.
Yes.
Um, you know, I mean, there's so many others, you know, Cool G Rap, like it's just so many. Big Daddy Kane, Rakim. I mean, you know, like they took the craft of how to pattern words and everything. You know, that alone. Forget the fact if you rhyme well and all of that, but just the patterns of
Right.
creating. That's a skill in itself.
Absolutely. Falling into a pocket, you know, like
Yeah.
that's not something that everybody can naturally do. And the greats did it, you know. So and that's discussed a little bit, you know, when we're talking about the Biggies and the Tupac. These are people that were naturally charismatic and just, you know, once their voice hit a record, it was like, okay, magic, you know, it was
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely I feel you on that, man.
Yeah.
I come
That's
from
the
a
stuff.
musical family, so for me, you know, it's very much like um you know, I it's kind of intrinsic, you know. I want to be within the vibe of the entire record. You know, it's not
Okay.
necessarily about me, it's about the song.
Right. Can you talk a little? You said you come from a musical family. Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that
I
as
mean,
far as?
particularly my father
Okay.
played a lot of instruments. So my dad was a guitar player. He also played the saxophone. He played some congas. When I was growing up, he used to get together with my uncle for jam sessions. He would play the bass. My other
Nice.
uncle played the drums. I would have an uncle, you know, like
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
a makeshift guido
Yeah.
out of the like fork and the cheese
Yeah.
grater.
Yeah.
Like so I grew up with the jam sessions, you know,
Okay.
and just
Okay.
kind of like having that around me was always something that I felt was special with music. You know,
Hmm.
it spoke to my soul.
It's really interesting, man. It's just so many of the greats that later on, at some point, you find out that like somebody in their family also came from a musical background, and then
Right,
it makes I don't know, it just makes so much sense. It seems like all the ones that did have, even if it was just like a family member that always had records, let's say, you
right,
know, and
right.
played, it
Hmm.
just for some reason it does something to that artist, man. I don't know, you know,
Indeed. I mean,
it's really cool.
it's part of your come up, right? It's the
Right.
upbringing, and then even you're not always cognizant of it. But like
Sometimes,
when I
right.
used to be in the car, and my parents, you know, in the front seat driving us to back and forth from wherever we was going, you know, like my mother would be playing Anita Baker in the car, and you
Hmm.
know, like it's just there are certain types of musicians that they spark something inside of you. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And whether you acknowledge it or not at the time. I'm a little kid
Sometimes
listening
it's
to Anita
just,
Baker. Yeah, it's just there.
yeah.
But now I listen to those records and it's like this is
Hmm.
what love feels like. You know what I mean?
So you would say, I mean, would you say that because of the times, for example, like when you were growing up and the type of music that was being played because of your parents and what they were into, um, fast forward to what's popular now, for example, and a kid, let's say that's aspiring to be you know, an MC, the type of music that they might have been consuming as they're growing up is different for
It
the
is.
most part. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying all, but I'm just saying for the most part, they're listening to different sounds, different tones, different, you know. So I say that affects the type of music that then they will create.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. I mean, I think that you're formed by your experiences throughout life,
Hmm.
you know, in every aspect of life, right?
Hmm.
Your experiences shape you.
Hmm.
And that's no different when it comes to what you're ingesting musically.
Hmm.
And I mean, a lot of these kids that is on the come up now, though, you know, their parents, their pops was probably into a Tribe Called Quest, and you know, like
Yeah,
all them records that you got behind you,
I know.
Gangstar and Illmatic, and but you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly what they're into.
Hmm. Right.
You know, there's a Tribe Called Quest line where he says, my pops used to say it reminded him of Bebop. I told him, Daddy, don't you know that things go in cycles?
Yeah,
The way he's
yeah,
just driving.
yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
remember the
yeah, yeah.
exact lyrics right now.
Bebop and go something about doo-wop. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It does go in cycles. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, you know, the people are always going to create. People
Yeah,
are
yeah,
always
yeah.
gonna you know find their lane to express their creativity. There are certain things that I never would have thought that you know anybody would be making, you know, 30-second videos on their phone, and these kids get real creative in a short period of time to like
Yeah,
create something that's just like I would never think to do what some of these
yeah,
kids
yeah,
do in
yeah,
their
yeah.
reels, but
Yeah.
it's entertaining.
It is. It is. It's true. Yeah, I don't knock it at all. I mean, I know some. I mean, listen, whatever. If it's music, there's good and there's bad, whatever.
Right,
But
exactly. There's only two types of music for me.
it's yeah, and either you like it or you don't.
Right.
To me, I let them express. I know there's a difference. There's some that just kind of jump in it because they see that that's what's going on and they feel they could do it and make money off of it. That's a whole
Right.
nother thing.
Right.
But as far as what they're into, I mean, we got criticized for a lot of the things that we were into as far as the way we dress, the
Yep.
baggy
Yep.
pants
Pick your
and,
pants up.
you know, 5X shirts that, like, it is what it is. Killing It With Love featuring Apani and DJ Afar.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, that's another one I would like you to talk a little bit about, especially I had the pleasure of talking to Lifelong.
Dope.
Apani came up. She's always coming up. She's always on somewhere. She's either doing her thing or
Yeah.
somebody's.
Yeah.
So I like to highlight, talk a little bit about that track and her, and then she killed it, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Apani's super dope.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know that when I heard that record, so that record's produced by DJ M1 out of
Hmm.
Ireland. I had
Okay.
been featured on M1's project with Starvin' B some years
Okay.
ago. I was on a joint called Q Borough shit. And yeah, so I mean, since then I've had a connection with him. We've done a handful of records together. And when I heard that track, I was listening to it, and I knew I wanted to do something. To me, it was just so fresh. You
Hmm.
know, it felt like alive, that record.
Hmm.
And you know, half of it is kind of very bare, where it's just drums, you know, just kind of rocking. It sounded like it could use the presence of someone else. I knew I wanted to get someone else on it. And when I was listening through and just thinking about the people that I've been interacting with,
Yeah.
and you know, like Apani had been visiting one of the studios that I frequented, Ear Candy, for a little bit.
Okay.
And she was also on the scene, like she'd be around to seek rapport. And Apani was always letting me hear joints out of the whip that were just amazing, like just things that she, you know, she has not put out yet, or whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
So I've heard some incredible music from Apani, even more than like the regular person that pays attention to her catalog.
Okay.
And it was just like when I thought of who would like bring this record home, it was her. I thought she would have sounded great on the melody, and she did. She came through, knocked it out the park, killed it with love. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
DJ Afar is also kind of the same circle. You know, Afar is nasty with the turntables, man. He's a turntablist.
Okay.
And I wanted to I knew that the way that I wrote the hook, there was some space in it, and I wanted to have that filled up, and really, so like, you know, it's a culmination of on that track, you know, really four artists coming together and
Mhm.
killing it with our own version of what we do. And
So
yeah, that's one of my favorite records on the project.
is it? I was going to ask you which one. I mean, I know sometimes it's hard when it's your own project, but
Yeah,
"Sound Like My City" featuring Just P, GS Advance,
yes,
Cutmaster
sir.
Supreme. Talk a little bit about that. Shout out to Just P. Again, like I was saying before, it's funny you see certain connections. I met Just P actually through Zulu.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, no, I believe that. I know he was
yeah, yeah, yeah,
heavy in
yeah.
the
That's how I
nation.
met him. And so shout out to him. But talk to me about that track. Number, that's The Pawnee one so far, that one I like, and this one that we're talking about, Sound Like My City, I like it because of the title and the feel.
Yeah.
I'm always again. It's one of those things, man. You look for that New York sound or that
Hmm.
familiar sound, and to me, that kind of embodies it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a similar process with this one, where the production really gave me the idea for the theme.
Okay.
So this track is produced by Explicit. Shout out to the homie Explicit. Shout out to Leo too. His brother kind of made that connection with me. But yeah. I've liked Explicit as a producer since before I even knew him. Because he
Okay.
produced In the Sun for Large Professor and Q-Tip. He produced
Oh, okay.
Acknowledge
Okay.
for Master Ace. Like he's got a couple of real bangers in his
Right.
arsenal
Right.
that
Right.
like every time I saw his name, it was damn, this is dope. Yeah, I'm as always, it's an honor to work with him. But I have quite a few instrumentals from that brother and I was listening through some and that one was like, okay, this is the one for me. Like I'm really messing with this right now. And I knew I wanted to, me and GS and Just P, we've known each other for quite some time. We've been on the hip
Mhm.
hop scene together for a long time.
Okay.
This isn't my first record with either of them. I was
Hmm.
actually on Just P and Innocence album.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was on, throughout the years, we've collaborated a handful of
Hmm.
times. But I've been seeing them recently, and just like, yo, we got to get another one in. So,
Nice.
when I was listening to this track, I was like, the theme came together first. I knew I wanted it was sounded so New York to me. The horns, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
everything about it sounded so New York to me. And then I was like, well, who's gonna help me bring that home? Because if I'm gonna do a New York track, I wanna have a couple of people, on it with me. So all of the MC features on this album are Queens MCs,
Hmm.
So GS Advance and Just P, they originally hail from Huntington, Long Island,
Hmm.
but they've been in Queens, like in Jamaica, for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, man. So I mean, they did exactly what I needed them to do with it. Cut Supreme brought it home. Cut Supreme is actually DJ on at Stony Brook Radio. I was out there actually last Thursday. So
Okay.
shout outs to Cut Supreme, man. He's always showing love, and it was just overdue for me and him to get on the track together. And when I was thinking about who could kind of finish it off, I knew I wanted cuts like after the verses towards the end of the track,
Yeah.
and he blessed it for me one day. You know what I'm saying? Like I reached out to him, and he was on board, and we made it happen. So yeah, it's a
Nice.
community thing, man. I didn't have too many features on this project, but the ones that I did were people that I really mess with.
Okay. Okay. Now, let me ask you, everything you're doing, especially with this project, is all independent?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything is this is essentially a one man army. I mean, like the particularly this project is I didn't do the mixing and mastering. That was left to my brother Ches Rocker.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, like just everything culminated from my ideas and was put together and curated, by me. And I do have physical copies of the project
Mhm.
on CD, and that's all my doing. I'm shipping those out by hand. So.
Okay. Before we continue, I want to let you talk a little bit more about the other tracks, but I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit more as far as the work that you have to do. For
Hmm.
example, you did this project, so you went obviously from beginning to end, completed it. You just said physical copies. I'm sure it's
Hmm.
online as well because I saw
That's
it's on
right.
Bandcamp and
Yep.
other platforms. Um, so how are you maneuvering between, the selling of the product? Are you doing shows? How are you doing all of that yourself? Plus, I know family, and taking care of all the things
Right.
that you have to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
How are you
No,
doing?
I mean, I'm working overtime right now, so everything is a stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But make it happen. You know what I mean? Like that's the kill it with love is kind of the approach towards the project. Everything that I'm doing it's because I believe in it.
Okay.
So I stand behind it. You know what I mean? I try to put my best foot forward. You know what I mean? Like I'm not one of those artists that you're gonna make a purchase from and you don't hear from me for 4 months and
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
then finally you beg me for it and I send you something.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's going out next day if I can. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like
Hmm.
I'm about it. So, my work is, I I put a lot into it, as far as the creation aspect of it. If I'm presenting it to the world, I'm proud of it. So I try to keep that in mind when with how I operate from a business standpoint. I take pride in the fact that people could be spending their money everywhere. It's hard to spend money right now, right? People don't even
Right,
want to
right.
go outside right now.
That's
It's
true.
hard to spend money right now. So anybody that drops a couple of pennies they've been pitching on my joint, I treat them like with the respect they deserve.
Right.
You'd be spending your money anywhere. You spent it with me. But yeah, man. I mean, as far as moving product, right now it's been mostly online since I
Mhm.
I just got the CDs in last week. So those have been going out. I did have a pre-order going on the Bandcamp page, so that's lexnyre.bandcamp.com. I also have a couple of options via Elastic Stage for like my UK listeners,
Mhm.
or basically European listeners. The CD is also available through that site. It's a little bit of a different medium.
Mhm.
Both copies look great. I should have them down here with me in my space, but I left those upstairs. But there's also vinyl available through Elastic Stage.
Nice.
But for the most part, anytime I've dropped a project, man, it's an experience, like
Mhm.
a learning experience. I've done
Mhm.
this a number of times. And a lot of my sales do end up being hand to hand. There's a lot of people that sometimes I feel like I'm getting more, could you hold one for me than than
Yeah,
actual
yeah, yeah.
sales. And it's
Right,
like
right.
I can't promise you nothing, like if they hold, they hold.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but but yeah, I'm ready to start getting back into the show scene. I did have a couple of shows like shortly before I dropped the project.
Okay.
But a lot of that goes through my peoples. I was actually supposed to do an ethos show with Lifelong.
Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah,
ended
yeah.
up getting very sick that like a couple of days
Ah,
before, so I wasn't able to make that show, unfortunately.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'll be performing on the scene, man. Like
Yeah.
I did the Jay and I fundraiser when it hit New York earlier this year
Mhm.
at Beer Wax. That was a dope event.
Okay.
And just a couple of Secret Poor,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Liggy B. Well, shout outs to to the homie Respect the God, and what I'm
Mhm.
saying, the A-list sessions crew.
Mhm.
They do a dope event monthly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I'm gonna get back in one of those. I know a few of my people's like shout outs to Bankai fam and my man '07, and a lot of people have been starting to do different shows at different locations. I know Yummy's in Brooklyn is another spot that I'm trying to hit up.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna put that out into the universe. But yeah, usually when I do shows, I do well.
Okay.
Especially if I have a new product. I come up.
Nice.
So yeah, hopefully I gotta line something up. As at the immediate moment, I don't have anything that's happening
Okay.
just yet.
All right. I'm sure it's gonna come, man. The project is dope, and I know
Absolutely.
people are gonna want to see you perform that. Talk a little bit about Food on a Fork.
Okay. Yeah. Food on a Fork is produced by the homie Shile from Russia. Um, yeah, man, it was just he had hit me up randomly, and I took a look at his page, started listening to his joints, and I was like, okay, there's something here. And he started sending me some tracks, and that one just kind of, when I heard that, I was like, ooh, it was like that ugly face sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like this is it just put me in the mood to write something. And yeah, Food on the Fork was that one. I felt like it just flowed kind of naturally.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, I mean, just a lot of times what I write is just what I think. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I set that one off. Consistency is what my ass need. I'm in the gym bumping Four Finger Ring 2 by Bad Seed. Either that or on my deck smoking mad weed. Shadow boxing trying to increase my hand speed. Like all of that is shit that I do.
That you're doing. You're right, 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 right.
You know?
Dan, you mentioned the bad seed.
Hmm.
Dope, dope, dope. I'm sorry, man. It's just, I just don't. There's sometimes there's certain names that I feel like they don't get mentioned. You know what I mean? Too often. or that
Yeah,
go
nah.
under the radar by some people. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, nah. Seed is
I,
definitely somebody that's been in the trenches for a long time. Very
yeah,
talented.
yeah,
Always had a lot of personality on his records, and you even kind of get that if you know just when you see him in person,
yeah.
it's that same feel.
Yeah, yeah, he's dope, man. He's again, he's dope, man. And I love how he always keeps Pumpkinhead's name. He's always
Yes,
shouting out Pumpkinhead,
yes.
always,
Rest in
always.
peace
So,
to PH.
yeah.
Pumpkinhead was like when I was first kind of like coming out of my shell and being willing to rhyme in front of people and things like that.
Hmm.
PH was one of the very first people that I had met on the scene that remembered me. Like this is when like I was young enough for people to be too cool to know who I was, right?
Right, right.
Pumpkinhead was never like that. He saw
Mhm.
me, he was like, Lex, right? I was like, yeah. And it was just love. Actually, I had seen him, I had met him at a show, but then later I had seen him at a house party and in Brooklyn, and that was a good time.
House party, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is I could remember doing like a shitty beatbox in the staircase for him. I want to say Block McCloud and Mr. Met. While
Mm.
they were freestyling, and that to me was like a fucking like
Yeah,
a nerd moment. Like, this is the best, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
shout outs to PH, man. He was always a real one, man. Such a great brother.
Yeah, man. This
Rest in
is
peace.
rest in peace to PH, man. Definitely. Um, Talk a little bit about the other tracks, man. I like one of the things that I like is that you mentioned you worked with somebody. You said Ireland.
Yeah,
You just mentioned the brother you worked from Russia.
yeah.
You're like kind of spread out all over the place, and I love that because again, it's just one of those things where there's so much talent in places that I like to see that connection. You know what I mean? That collab, and not for nothing, but like the person you just mentioned from Russia.
Sheila.
Sometimes you just like, wow, they doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I recently spoke to somebody that's not in Russia, borderline with Russia, Lativa, I believe.
Latvia. That's
Latvia.
yeah. I think that's I
It's
believe
it's
that's where Porzingis from, right?
yeah, it's borderline with Russia, but
Hmm.
you know, I was just speaking to that brother, and to see how they used to be,
Hmm.
and how they came, and a lot of the culture and everything they got was from watching stuff from New York, in particular,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
B Street and all those things, they made their way across
yeah,
the
this
globe.
guy mentioned Style Wars. He was like,
Nice.
"Yo, when I watch Style Wars," and he does street art. You know what I mean? But
Dope, dope.
so it's just, I love to hear, especially, like brothers like yourself, and I know even like lifelong. He talks about that all the time. He works with a
Right.
lot of people, so it's really dope, man. And I like that you have that diversity on your project. Um,
Indeed.
but so the rest of the album, like I was telling you before, from the beginning to end, I like everything I've heard. Um, it's
Thank you, thank
definitely
you.
something that you could just put on and let it rock without having to skip. Which I know that was always a big conversation for us when something dropped. Like, is it a non-skip?
Right, right, right.
you know,
You don't want to have
and
too many skippers on your project. Eh?
yeah, and this is definitely one of those that I can say you can just let it rock from beginning to end.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that's the way that I like to ingest music personally. Like I know a lot of
yeah, me too.
people, listen to music in different ways, especially
Hmm.
now you have a whole world of music in your hand
Hmm.
half the time. But like I'm somebody that really likes to listen to a project from top to bottom, even if there are some skippers on them.
Yeah, yeah.
The first couple of times, like I want to hear everything. I want to see the entire vision. And sometimes there's not much of a vision there. Sometimes
Hmm.
things are just kind of thrown together. But the way that I create is very intentional in terms of the sequencing and making sure that everything
It's
flows well one
cohesive.
track
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah,
another.
yeah,
Right, and
yeah.
and it's not only is it cohesive, it's also still a level of diversity. It's not
Hmm. Yeah,
monotonous
right,
in a
right.
degree where it's like I heard one song, I heard them all.
Hmm.
You want to go through the process of a couple of different emotions, and
Hmm.
like I wanted to make sure that there were things that the ladies would appreciate on this record. All of that matters.
Yes. Yeah, no, it does. It definitely does. I was just talking about that with somebody recently, and I was telling them that one of the things that I used to like about, like for example, like the KRS Ones and stuff like that, was that he would play around. You know what I mean? Like with the
Hmm.
style, his flow, it would change up. You know what I mean? Like even like a Big Daddy Kane. You know, I mean, I keep mentioning the usuals, but there's a whole lot of others. Biggie, you know, he did it. You would go from you know the most street hardcore type of
Right, right.
song, you know, talk about robbing, and then the next song, you know, he's talking about like his moms and stuff like that or whatever.
Yep, yep, yep.
So
Super, super
that's
smooth.
right. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
do it with ease
I
and
think my favorite artists have always kind of had that in them, you know. Like I'm
hmm
somebody that really appreciates an artist like a OC or a Master Ace, you know, like somebody that really doesn't stick to one topic,
hmm
doesn't come across like they're
they're not
posing.
trying.
Right,
They're not trying to
exactly.
do it because it's what's in.
Right.
It just comes out. Yeah.
It's just in them,
hmm
right? And that comes across on record. It's authentic, you know, like
Right.
that's something that I've always got from artists like that, you know, and the
hmm
AZs and like just, you know, a lot of amazing MCs.
hmm But you have that. So we pretty much talked about most of the tracks on here.
Hmm.
There's 14,
Yep.
including the you know the interlude and everything,
Right.
which to me is dope. You know, and I saw you have it out pretty much on all streaming platforms. It's on Bandcamp. Just let everybody know once again, you know, where they can get physical copies if they want, or the
For
digital.
sure. Yeah, so the best language is out now. This it's available on CD at lexnyre.bandcamp.com. You could order the digital there as well. Any purchase of a CD comes automatically with a digital. And it's also available via Elastic Stage for, you know what I'm saying, my European listeners if you want to
Mhm.
save some money on shipping, because the shipping these days be more expensive than the product itself sometimes.
I know.
So, you know, it's an arm and a leg to ship from the US.
hmm
So I wanted to make that option available because it drop ships directly from the manufacturer. So elasticstage.com/LexNYRE. Not only are there CDs there, there's also vinyl available through that site. And
Okay.
yeah, the project. I mean, we were talking about how you know kind of went all over the world a little bit with the
hmm
production. Those two joints actually are the only joints produced by anyone that's not from New York.
That's outside.
So particularly like most of these tracks are from people from Queens.
hmm
My man Seth Silencer from Queens. My man Monk is from Queens. Trey 8 got a joint on there. SI's Finest is from Staten Island, clearly. But Explicit also from Queens, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very much like a New York internal affair sort of deal. But
Okay.
those two joints were just, you know, there was something about what I heard in them that fit in so well. And then Eric G also from North Carolina has a joint on there as
Okay.
well. So yeah, man, real happy with the way that this project came out. You could find it, like you said, on all DSPs. Just type in Lex NYRE, and the name of the album is The Best Language, so you'll be able to find that everywhere. It's on YouTube, on Amazon, on, you know, Spotify, on Apple Music, wherever you listen to music.
So make sure everybody you go out and get that. I highly recommend it.
Thank
You
you.
just talked heavy Queens talk.
Yeah.
I wanted to
I
ask
am
you.
what I am, man.
No. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But it leads me to my next question that I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you. There's always I don't want to say maybe I guess a debate or you know people always
Yeah.
trying to figure out which borough out of Queens
Uh-huh.
and Brooklyn have the most
Right.
MCs or artists, groups, whatever that have come out in the history of hip hop music. And you know, Queens, I don't know, man. I think Queens might have it. Brooklyn has a lot.
Yeah, Brooklyn has a lot.
Brooklyn has a lot, but I don't know. Queens is up there, man. Queens is so big. Can you give me, as far as inspiration, whether it
Hmm.
was MCs, producing wise, it doesn't even matter. Just
Hmm.
anybody or group that inspire you in any form or fashion, but not the usual suspects.
Not the usual suspects.
Not the
Okay.
usual suspects.
Not the usual
Give me
suspects.
someone from Queens
Okay.
that might have had an impact on you in some shape,
Yeah,
form, or
yeah.
fashion.
Yo,
That's
so okay, definitely think of a couple people. So any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was actually watching your interview with the homie Liggy, and
Okay.
he mentioned wall watching, and that was very much like my introduction to hip hop. Like I never really thought of it that way,
Okay.
but it was.
Okay.
So like
Okay.
Bruise on the walls in Jackson Heights and Woodside, rooftop artists, NATO, NATO, like these brothers.
Okay.
I used to notice them everywhere, or at least around the way. And then when I
Yeah.
would ride the train, I would definitely look through the on the 7 line. Would look through the window and always see
Okay.
all the bombing on the walls. And eventually, like as when the Fun Factory first came up, 5 Points.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That was like it was an experience riding the train and looking at all the names. So like Kelt was another one that was like kind of all over the place in Woodside
Nice.
and Jackson Heights. That like I grew up on the border. So yeah, a lot of dope artists there. But I mean, as far as like Queens, like um, I'm inspired by a lot of my people. You know what I'm saying? People that I've been fortunate enough to cross paths with. So like if you want to say out the box, I mean, for me, it's not gonna come as any surprise to you if you're familiar with me, but
Hmm.
like my brother Kesper, me
Okay.
and him got a couple projects together. Just phenomenal MC out of
Hmm.
Jackson Heights. Shout outs to my other Jackson Heights homies, Apocalypse and Caesar 823. Those are also like
Okay.
that's part of the fan, part of the team right there. My brothers inspire me. New York Rhyme Exchange, man. I could go
Hmm.
through everybody's name in the clique. But so shout outs to my brother
Shout,
Snake
shout,
Eyes.
shout out some
Um,
of them just so that
yeah, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
So Snake Eyes is well. If I'm talking about Queens, Snake Eyes
Yeah.
is my man Shadow the Master used to live in Queens too for a little
Okay.
bit. He's Queens and Brooklyn.
Hmm.
And my brother E Noise, as I mentioned earlier, he's
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
the New York Rhyme Exchange. And My man Ra Ra Aguilar was another
Okay.
producer for the Rhyme Exchange and for our my original crew was Sinister Circle back in the days. So this is like I want to say going back early 2000s. We was rocking a lot of shows at like the Bowery Poetry Club and just kind of doing
Nice.
our thing. Trying to make a splash on the scene.
Hmm.
But I mean, that said, I mean, there's so many people. There's so many people. Gab Gotcha. Shout outs to Corona. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
sheesh.
So that's cool.
It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people to think of. Because like initially when you're asking me about inspiration, I'm thinking like for me, Tribe was big, Large Professor was
Yeah.
big.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but those are the usual
I,
suspects. You know what I
yeah. Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
Nas, obviously.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right. No, no, no. I get you. I get it. I know. And that's why I said like not the usual suspects. But that not just because it's what everybody tends to, say. It's just I find it interesting because sometimes it's dudes on the block or that you
yeah.
grew up with that maybe was doing it before you or
Right.
whatever that maybe they just didn't continue or whatever have you, but were nice or had an impact. So I always like to hear about those.
Indeed.
Were you
Indeed,
gonna say
man.
something? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm over here thinking of all
Now
the
you're
people I
thinking about
know, and it's like, but I
yeah.
do want to give a quick shout out to my man Omega Johnson. He used to be down with the Morlocks back in the days, a Cambria Heights representative. So,
Okay.
shout outs to him.
So you mentioned the war watching being
Hmm.
very big for you. What was the first? Did you dabble in graph at all? What was the first thing that you like to try to take a hand at doing?
So I was never that nice with particularly with words. I used to draw a lot when I was younger. I
Mhm.
used to like trying to draw comic characters and things like that.
Okay.
Calligraphy for me was never like a very natural thing where I felt confident enough in what I was doing
Hmm.
to really get big into graph as anything more than an observer. Now
Hmm.
I did used to throw up little tags every once in a while with a couple of my peoples because you're young, you
Everybody, yeah,
out
yeah,
there,
yeah.
you knucklehead, you want to see your name every once in a while. So I did a little bit of that. But never serious enough where I felt like I was that good to keep up with it. So the first thing that really kind of like drove me forward in terms of hip hop was DJing actually. So I had a
Okay.
cousin. So rest in peace to my cousin Jason, man. He's a cousin that was younger than me. He lived in the Bay Area, and I remember I visited the Bay. I want to say I must have been around at that time, the particular instance that I'm thinking about must have been around 14 years old, maybe a little bit younger. But my cousin was a couple years younger than me. He was about 11, and he was just going to work on his turntables, like down there. Like,
Nice.
I don't mean just like, your regular jigger jiggers. Like, he was plugging in, like wah wah pedals and like, like just he was on some turntablism type stuff. So
Right,
he
right.
actually learned to scratch from his stepmother was Mixmaster Mike's godmother.
Oh, wow.
So he met Mixmaster Mike and like the Invisible Scratch Pickle. So he learned to scratch from like Hubert and them. Like
Wow.
and
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
and he was a young kid that was just nice with it. Nice with
Wow.
it. So I remember like just the experience of being out there and seeing him get busy made me feel like I want to try that. I want to try that
Okay.
out. And I want to say that same Christmas, I was fortunate enough where my parents hooked it up with one of the DJ in the box. It was like called a Blue Dog DJ in the box from Newmark. I
Okay.
remember getting that for Christmas and just kind of being super excited about it. And then from there, I started collecting records and just making beat tapes, really like with instrumentals from the record from the 12 inches that I was buying. I would just
Okay.
kind of make little blend tapes, on cassette, with the instrumentals that I had on my records, and I would bring those out to the parks, and we would freestyle or on the boombox.
Okay.
Toss them in the boombox, and we would freestyle, have little sessions at Little Bush Park in Queens, Woodside, right
Okay.
behind the BQE.
So when you were dabbling with the DJing, or starting off, were you already writing? Were you already like listen?
Not too much. I was more
Okay.
of like I would be willing to freestyle, like
Okay. Okay.
we would kind of have ciphers and stuff, and like
Right.
so when I had the turntables and we started throwing those on, we got more into it, and
Okay.
eventually it got to the point of like I learned to count bars on, I want to say the instrumental was a high tech. I think it was a Move something. I think it was the Good Morning Brooklyn record. It was something
From high tech.
from the Returnal Reflection
Okay.
Reflection Eternal
Right.
album.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That I don't know why that's a tongue twister right now. It's late in the day, but but yeah, I remember learning to count like 16s and 24s off of that record because I always understood like rhythmic patterns and understood that it like things kind of move in fours as far as
Yeah. Yeah.
music goes.
Right.
But I never really tried writing too much, and then when I figured out how much space there is for me to put in that gap before it moves to the chorus section or the
Yeah.
next movement of the record. I understood that was vital. So just from listening to
Okay.
so much music,
But from listening to that particular album,
no, not. I
you
mean, just to in general listen to music. That was just the
but
record that I experimented with. It was an instrumental on one of the 12 inches that they put out for that
okay.
record.
Okay.
I think it
Okay.
might have actually
That
been the Move Something record. Move
okay.
Something was the
That's the
name of the
one you
track.
use to experiment to kind of formulate
Yes.
to see.
to,
Gotcha.
to, to learn
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
really fill up that gap and put a verse that's gonna start and end where it's supposed to.
Okay. How did that go?
It went smooth. I used to record like straight into the headphone. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the tape player, and then I
Yeah.
would overdub it. I would record it and then overdub. The quality was shit by the time I was done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was layering shit. Like
Yeah.
I had concepts from just from listening so much.
Yeah.
Like I kind of understood the way that you get across on a record.
Okay. Now, did you have anybody, as far as the DJing and as far as your the writing part, did you have anybody like as a mentor, anybody that you showing, or just from peers, and seeing, going back and forth? How
I
did
want to
that
say, yeah, I want to say for the most part it was peers.
just kind of being around and seeing
Yeah,
how
yeah.
everybody?
So I
Yeah.
mean, I mentioned my man Snake Eyes earlier. He was my best friend at the time. One of the MCs that I rocked with a lot. Then my cousin, Fifth, my cousin Nell, he was always into, we kind of came up together. And my brother, actually, is my older brother, who I mentioned a couple times earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's the kind of really the one that put the battery in our back. He had moved to California for a few years, and he was living in the Bay. And when he came back, he got his apartment right in the building that I was living in Queens. I was still living with my parents at the time, and he managed to buy some equipment. He was like, he liked what we were doing, just even from a hobbyist point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was making those little tapes. I would let him hear what I was doing. And he took it to the next level by getting some recording. I want to say the first piece that he had, it was like a 24 track Yamaha or something.
Okay.
And we started recording on that, and so we had that analog sound early, and yeah, man,
Nice.
that was, that kind of put the battery in our back to start taking it a little more seriously. Eventually, we ended up building a booth in his apartment, and we were doing a lot of our early recording out there.
Okay. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about, because I'm sure around that time you did mention, going to the park, ciphers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of experience, going to different places and joining ciphers? I mean, I know like Washington Square Park used to be a nice little meeting
Right.
ground for a lot of cats.
They still do that, actually. The
Hmm.
legendary ciphers goes on at Washington, not at Washington Square. That's at Union Square, I believe.
Yeah, I think
I
Union
think
Square.
that's at Union Square.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just that whole vibe is very similar.
Hmm.
I honestly I didn't do a whole lot of that. I was more of like a neighborhood kid until I started hitting the shows a little more frequently,
Okay.
and then getting a little bit more on the scene. But
Hmm.
for the most part, I remember my man Geo Rock. I gotta hit up my man Geo, see if he still got like the camera footage of us freestyling back in the days. 'Cause he was the dude with the camcorder back then.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it was mostly just kind of like a very New York experience, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It was around the people that I was around were also into it. And we did our thing.
Hmm.
I didn't really start meeting people that were very seasoned in the game until, years later. Because for a long time, like I said, I was a spectator. Like I would
Okay.
come to shows and not really like, look to present myself as somebody that was trying to be an artist. I was just absorbing, what I was a fan. I'm a fan first
Hmm.
to this day. But I can remember seeing ciphers like outside of the wetlands with like many styles and sea raised walls and these dudes that are just incredible freestylers. And they would draw crowds, like literally, like just
Hmm.
people who were walking by in Manhattan would stop and pay attention to what was going on because they were loud and they were dope.
Anime. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, at what point does production start coming into the game?
So I had tried my hand at a couple of things over the years. I think the very first track that I produced was a joint that we did for my peoples that they were starting a sneaker store back in the day. Yo, rest in peace
Mhm.
to my man James. He was one of the
Rest in
brothers
peace.
that was involved with that. Kickstore.com, but
Mm.
KICKZ. This was right around Newtown High School, like in that general vicinity over there.
Okay.
A couple of my boys had opened up a shop, a sneaker shop. And one of the first songs the very first song that I produced, I had done for a promo for their store.
For the store. Okay.
And this is back when we were recording, I think, on that 24 track. So I had that record, and I may have had another one. I can't remember what I produced it for, but that was just something that I had like very loosely tried my hand at a very long time ago. And then it
Mhm.
wasn't until I want to say around maybe 2015 or so.
Mhm.
You know what? I misspoke earlier because I said that Alex came out in 2016. I believe that dropped in 2018. So I really think that the date that I really started like banging out beats was in 2017.
Okay.
Believe it or not. So there was like a long
Okay.
gap. between my first experience at trying production and then coming back around to it. I'm not even sure what it is that triggered it, man. I think it might have been when I was recording with Kesper. He would find like little interludes from like famous rap records. Like every so often Premiere would have a beat switch somewhere where it's not really the song, but it's like the end of the song.
And that you wish they would do a song with it or something.
So he flipped a couple of those for us
Did
to
it? Yeah.
rock. Yeah.
Okay.
And when I started listening to it at that capacity, I was like, well, you know what? I hear parts of records from all kinds of genres where it's just like that little gap there. And so I started just really getting into the loop-based production initially in 2017, and once I started kind of digging around for things that I could find there, I kind of hit the ground running for a little bit. I put out a few instrumental projects around that time, also available on the Bandcamp. So if you do go to lexnyre.bandcamp.com, there are actually some instrumental projects that are available for free on there.
Nice.
Yeah, man, I just did in my first year, I went crazy, and then I really fell back because like I started feeling like the ones that I liked best were ones that I wanted to create something to, myself. I felt like I was hoarding my favorite beats a little bit. But I did produce an EP for my bro Blue Legacy out of Far Rockaway, or Blue Legacy is a nomad. He's all over the place. But shout outs to him. We did King Size, which came out a couple years ago. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, production that I've done has been on my own records. But there's I did actually recently do a record for the homie Greasy. I love what he did with it. That joint is called Sweet Catalyst. Yeah, man. I'm always open to working with people.
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but that's
no,
what I
it's
was
good.
getting ready to ask you. Like, do you? I don't know. I don't want to say like promote yourself, but do you kind of put it out there as far as like, hey, if anybody's interested, as far as just on production side?
I did it first.
Okay.
Like when I was sitting on like literally I made a couple hundred beats.
Yeah.
And when I was sitting on those, I was like I want to start hearing people on these. And there were a
Hmm.
couple of things like dribs and drabs that would come through, and I ended up producing a couple of things here and there. There were even songs that R&B singers used, and like
Okay.
so I've had some good stuff.
Hmm.
But after a while, um again, I approach it from an MC first standpoint,
Okay.
the production. So after a while, I was like, I was kind of getting tired of waiting on anyone to do anything with some of these things. So
Okay.
I had sent a lot of things out that kind of ultimately became like radio silence. They went nowhere, and I didn't want to keep doing that.
Hmm.
So I became a little bit more selective with who I was giving tracks to, because I was only giving tracks to people that was actually turning them around. Um,
Okay. But
so
if somebody, like if an artist, comes across your work, for example, and likes the
mhm,
type of production that you do, and they're like, hey, I want to,
if they
I
want to
want to
work,
purchase and buy, a beat from you or
hmm
production from you. Would you, would you do it that way?
I'm open to that.
Or,
I have done that in the past a couple of
yeah,
times. I've sold a
okay,
couple of tracks, but
okay,
for the most part, though, I try to keep it internal, because when I was sharing the records, it was with people that I knew to some degree
okay,
on the scene.
right, right, okay. Nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Nah, I
Nah,
mean,
nothing wrong with that.
honestly,
The,
I've been in such an MC mode over the last couple of years, really, where it's like I haven't been pushing the production quite as much,
yeah,
just because it's not something that I've been actively creative with.
hmm,
So it's hard for me to really come out and present. Maybe something's gonna spark that fire soon, but um
no, no,
at one point,
I get it. Yeah,
there was also a measure of, I didn't want to wait for anybody else.
yeah,
I do everything hands on. So like Do It Dolo is what I release my projects under, Do It Dolo Records.
Hmm.
That's just kind of like my mantra.
Okay.
But I know so
That's
many
not,
talented people that it's like I still end up with
you
with
still
a
end
lot
up
of production from other people and
yeah,
features and just I
right.
just want to make the best music I can while I can.
That's dope. That's dope. I'm not gonna, I know we've been on for a minute, so we're gonna try and wrap this up real quick. But I have this little thing that I do. It's called True Hip Hop Feeling.
Okay.
Um, it's just something that I've been saying for a little while now because there's times where I can't explain certain things. I feel like it's just a feeling, that it's sometimes hard to explain when it comes to experiences that you might have had in hip hop.
Hmm.
Uh, so I wanted to ask you, for you, if you can maybe think of a moment for yourself that would fall into the category of being a true hip hop feeling, and this could be any moment that you experienced that stood out to you, had an impact in you, whether it was maybe a show that you went to, a song, just something that to this day, like when you think about that, it's just like, wow, you had to be there to understand the way I feel about this moment.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've had a few of those. I think one of them that I mentioned earlier, like beatboxing for Brooklyn Academy in Norway,
Okay.
that was something like that.
Hmm.
But just thinking offhand, I can remember the first time I saw Boot Camp Click perform. Um, I can't recall what year it was. I know it was in the Lions Den. They had a show there where they were just kind of headline. It was all of them. And this was not like necessarily like during the era when their debuts were coming out. This is after they've been established for some time. I just had never seen them live.
Live. Okay.
And I remember seeing Sean Price kind of stand out to me as the like as almost like as the star of the show, right?
Okay.
The way his performance was so vivid and just like I remember him being captivating. And anytime that I was around Sean Price, it was a similar experience. It's like I didn't know him personally, but he had a way of making you feel like, everyone that's here belongs here. Unless you rub them the wrong way, then he tell you shut the fuck up. But
Right.
but P had a presence to him, and there's only like you meet a lot of people if doing this as long as I have. You meet a lot of people in this game, and they have you kind of have your stories of don't meet your idols versus
Mhm.
the ones that are just like a different experience. And like I've for me, when I did the pen relays with Quest the Mad Lad, like that was kind of a surreal experience for him to reach out to me and give me props as somebody that I was a fan of. You know what I mean? So it's like, but going back to Sean Price and the first time that I seen him, I just kind of recall a certain feeling that there was just being in his presence. And it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. But I haven't thought about that moment in many years, and I do remember it almost feeling like an epiphany.
Mhm.
How great this MC was. Like he was really that dude. You know what I mean? So I mean that's just the first thing that comes off top to me.
Dope, dope, dope. Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah. Nah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, Sean Price, man. Shout out to his wife Bernadette Price, who I know is dropping. Oh man, I don't want
that's
to mess
right.
up the date, but I know it's soon. 20 something, 28th or somewhere around that time. Um, she's dropping her album. So shout out to her.
Yeah,
Um,
Bernadette Price is almost like the first lady of the underground.
yeah, yeah.
Like I see her at so many events, and she just kind of, she has a good presence to her as well.
Yeah, man. I see her. Exactly. You see her, and it's kind of the same. It's kind of eerie in a way, actually. You know what I mean? Like it's
I
so.
mean, yeah. So some people are meant for one another.
Yeah. April 18th, actually.
Okay, cool.
April 18th. Everybody be on the lookout for that. It's called The Widow's Cry.
That's right.
Bernadette
Yeah,
Price.
I did
Yeah.
see the promo for that Widow's Cry.
Hmm.
I thought the title was really dope.
It is, man. You know what? I actually, man, what event was it? What event was it? It was something recent. It was Ralph McDaniel's birthday at
The
the,
video music box at Brooklyn Bowl, I think it was.
yeah, 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 yeah. Were you there?
I was not at that
Oh,
show.
okay.
That was one that I had. I think I was doing a radio show or something else that night that I couldn't make it.
Yeah, that show was pretty dope.
I heard good things about it.
It was good. It was good. It was good. She was there, man, and I actually kicked her well a little bit, and she told me then that she got the album coming out and all of that, and it's like I want, of course I'm ready for it and I want to hear it, but like when she was telling me, it kind of made me a little sad too because
Yeah,
she was talking about basically her experience.
yeah,
So it's like I
it's
felt a
personal.
little, yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. But I'm sure it's gonna be dope. Um, man, so Lex, I mean, we could keep going and going and going. I don't want to keep you. I've had you on for a while. Um, anything else that you would like the people to know? Any future projects coming out? Anything? Do you have any merch, by the way, besides like the CDs? Any other, anything aside from physical copies, like that you're
Yeah,
working on,
so the
or
merchandise, it's funny because a lot of people have told me over the years that they know me through my sticker game. So
okay,
like I definitely like when you do purchase music from me, you're always getting a couple of stickers with them.
okay,
That's something that I always have on deck. I have pins,
yeah,
pins. I have a couple of keychains left. At one point I had some lighters. Every time I press the lighters, they sell pretty quick. So like usually like knickknacks and things like that, man. I
yeah,
don't really do like the too much of the t-shirt merch or anything like that. But it's not something that I'm close to.
hmm
I have designed some t-shirts in the past.
okay,
So one thing that you may not know about me unless you're like kind of reading liner notes and things like that is I do the artwork for all of my projects. So and I have done art for a handful of people. Like I did Shabam Sadiq and J57's album cover. Like
mm,
there's a few people who have kind of who have gotten my services in that
hmm
regard. So from an artistic standpoint, you might see my name on a number of different things.
okay.
But yeah, but as
You
far
did
as
the
merch, it's
artwork.
mostly
You did the artwork for this project
for the
that's
best
out now.
language, yeah, for
Yeah.
John. For most of the projects
Hmm.
that I put out, almost every single one I've done the artwork. I mentioned Real Estate with Buck earlier this year. He actually did the cover for that album is a painting that he did.
Mm.
The famous like the Scream. There was a take on the Scream.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
it was me and him on that cover. But I did kind of still do the layout and the fonts and all of the lettering for that and back cover and inserts and all of that.
Okay.
But
Dope.
yeah, man. For the most part, I limit my merch to the music, but yeah, I do have little things here and there as well.
Cool. 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 So as I said when we first started, the name of the show is NSWAY 73 TV. The TV stands for Talent and Vision. We talked a lot about your talents. We got different, producing, writing, and everything that we talked about. As far as your vision, what is it that you see yourself, accomplishing within the next few years, or where would you like to see yourself as far as in general? I mean, obviously with the
hmm
music, but if there's anything else in particular, what's your vision?
Yeah, I mean, for me, in terms of looking forward, I always, I'm a family man.
Hmm?
My eldest daughter just graduated college last year. Um,
Congrats.
Thank you. So my son is he's actually taking a gap break after his second semester in college,
Okay.
but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
get him back into that. And my youngest is in high school right now as well. She's thriving, doing her thing, pulling those those 90 pluses.
Nice, nice.
Um, so right now my focus is always on them.
Hmm.
Seeing their advancement. Um, do everything I can to support them. You know what I mean? I've been, in the workforce for a very long time. So, you know, um, hopefully, with everything that's going on, my 401k don't take a big hit.
I know, right?
I checked it. I checked it yesterday, and it was looking all right. I'm knock on wood for that, but
Yeah,
you know, we
right.
see things go up and down. I'm not trying to pay too much mind to that till the time comes.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, I mean, I'm just, you know, I'm the way that I approach my music. I try to be a realist. You know, in what I'm conveying in the messages that's within the music. I want to be able to put forth something that's going to connect with someone. I feel like the best language is the reason I went with that title is because music is the universal language. It
Mhm.
connects people from all walks of life, from
Yes.
all ends of the globe. Musically, I want to continue doing that. You know,
Okay.
I've had like my experience of this project. It's only been out a couple of weeks, but I've had more than one person tell me that they've listened to it with their child.
Hmm.
And you know that to me speaks volumes. That to me is one of the greatest compliments that you could give me, because it's like if you're willing to sit and listen to and that they liked it. One was, you know, a young girl, and one was a young man.
Nice.
You know, and so that to me lets me know that I'm doing something that resonates with people in general. And that's really what all that I want from this music is to be able to connect with people and leave a mark, and you know, hopefully get somebody through a hard day. I had another brother tell me that you know, he was having a tough day, you know, at work, or whatever it was that led to him just you know, not in the greatest mental space. And when he put on my record that day, and the first song on the album, I think it might have been the first time he listened to it,
Hmm.
was Unseen, which kind of talks about, you know, like when you
Yeah.
feel like there's no place to run to, I just want to tell you, I see you and love you. You know, like it's very much for the people that are feeling that way. So the feedback that I've been getting this time around has been a little different, and it's been refreshing. And you know, that type of stuff means the world to me. I had a brother send me a picture of his arm with goosebumps on it when he played Tape Deck Flex. So I mean, you know, like it's just I want to continue to connect with people through this thing, and that's
So
really kind of like what this whole project is about.
nice, nice. Well, I guess, not that I guess, you summed up the album pretty well with what you just said. And again, I know I said it before a couple of times, and I'm gonna say it again. It's a very dope project from beginning to end. Congrats on, you know, how it came out,
Thank
and
you.
hopefully, you know, it's just the beginning. You know what I mean? As far as this project and the momentum, and hopefully it just leads to more good stuff. You know, I hope you continue, because like you said, you know, I know your music is bringing some type of comfort to other people, but you have to find that as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, it's got to be
So
fulfilling.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? So hopefully it keeps you in a good space and you keep that creative, uh, you know, juices flowing and going. Because there's one thing that I always complain about is every time I come across an artist that's dope and has good music, at some point in time it's like they stop, or they feel
Yeah,
like they don't have it anymore. Something I'm like, yo,
yeah,
dude, we're still here. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get it. You know, I know it's tough. You have it, life hits and this and that, but you know, it's just like, yo, the music is so dope. Give us some more. You
Yeah, no,
know,
I totally feel you,
but
man. Like that's how I feel about a couple of artists. I'm not gonna shout them out like that.
yeah, I know.
It's only
But
natural as a human, I think,
yeah, yeah.
sometimes, particularly when you feel like I should be making more noise, right? Like
Hmm.
I think that we all feel that way to a degree, even the people that you think are making a ton of noise.
Yeah,
So I think it's natural for you to kind of get your lows when you're not feeling appreciated.
yeah.
You know, so
All the
it's like
work that you're
what
putting in and the
right,
time it
right.
takes, and yeah, no, I
That's the
understand.
part of this that people don't really like.
We don't think
They don't
about.
think about, right?
I'm
Because
saying we
you're
because at some point.
absorbing
Hmm.
entertainment, you know, so
Hmm.
you're getting the end product. So
Hmm.
I mean, it makes sense to think that way. But music has become so disposable through so many of the streaming platforms and the different, like just the availability of it. That you know, people don't necessarily value.
Hmm.
you know, music the way we used to. Like you used to get a CD or an album or cassette tape, and you would burn that to death. You know,
Yeah.
that was one that stayed in the headphones for a while, and you played it over and over, and you really like got to absorb the album, and it became a personal classic to you, right?
Hmm.
So, you know, in today's age, you know, there are, you know, I want to say, I know it's more than that, but I'm gonna say that there's, in my opinion, from the way that I, you know, watch and listen to music, there's at least 10 solid projects that drop every week.
I know. It's almost impossible.
You can't keep up with it. You can't
No.
keep up with it. So what makes you stand out? What makes you different from the crowd? You know what I mean? And with all that you're up against, this oversaturation, it's natural to start feeling like, you know, am I talking to the wall? So you
Mm.
know, I've had this conversation with many of my peers in this thing that kind of, you know, go through their lows and like, yo, I don't know if I want to keep doing it. Um, I'm not gonna stop doing it because it's what I do. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I've kind of accepted it that you know, I have, you know, a separate career from this. I have my benefits through that. My kids are good. Like that's what matters to me. But at the same time, I know I'm nice, right? So I ain't putting the mic down anytime soon. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, you gonna get this
yeah.
work.
Nice, 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 nice. Man, on that note, thank you, man, once again, Lex. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
I was really eager to speak to you because, one, like I said, the project is dope. I listened to a few of the other things that you've had out. I wanted to put the connection together, and just also to give, just try to do my little whatever part that may
Listen,
hopefully help. You know what I
no,
mean?
no, everything
It,
helps, man. I
yeah, yeah.
appreciate you sharing your platform.
I think, listen, the same way like you guys feel is the same way a lot of us on this end feel because we do this because we
Absolutely.
love it. I don't, again, you don't know the stuff that I mean, you do know, but I'm just saying
Right,
there's a
right.
lot
No.
that goes through the everyday life. And then, okay, I got this to do this and this and that. And then sometimes you're like, damn, that's the only amount of people that looked at this so far. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right. Sometimes it
And
feels
it's
thankless.
the same way. It's the same
Hmm.
thing. So I totally understand and totally get it. But just like you said, it's something that I enjoy. I've been
Hmm.
doing this since about 2008. It was like audio at that time and whatever. Now I moved on to the YouTube thing. I just enjoy it. You know what I mean? I love it. I love being able to give people a platform and also to kind of do my part in documenting the
Yep.
person's story. And so, like you said, I think no matter what, I always come back to this because it's fulfilling for me. Like the same way it is for
Right.
you when you have your project out and your baby and you feel good about it. Like when I finish this with you, man, I go down and I'm like, yo, this was so dope. I'm on such a high. Because again, you might have a certain type of day.
Right.
And you come to something that you love doing, and it's fulfilling. It helps. So it's like therapeutic for all of us at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So Lex, man, keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate you. Anytime you have anything coming out, man, we have to contact and connect. Don't ask, send it my way or whatever. Like I said, I'll do my part in helping push and promote.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing. And hopefully we'll come across each other and I can see you at a show or something.
Absolutely. It's only a matter of time, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So once again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is NSWAY 73 TV. Make sure to go out there, Lex NYRE. Look for the album, Bandcamp, Spotify. It's on all digital platforms. It's definitely Uncle E approved.
Haha.
Uh, I love it. I love it. Go get it. Peace, everybody. Thank you.